So, hi everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to be here with you. A great honor. So, thanks for the organizer. Thanks for my friend Dr. Muhammad for uh, having me here. Uh, our topic is very relevant to the current transformation in the international system. But let me start with a very short story. Last year, in 2024, during a White House, visit, the Kenyan president, William Ruto, was asked, "Do you prefer the Chinese investment or the American investment?" It looks like a very simple question, but his answer was like that. We are not facing the East or the West. We are facing the future. Actually, he is echoing what President Nkrumah said a long time ago about which way that Africa should take. It is a kind of independent path, non-alignment. So today we are thinking about the lessons of non-alignment and how to revive the spirit of Bandung in 1955. I think that is a real question that we need to ask ourselves in this transformation of the international system. How the global South rise up again and be more active and powerful and not just marginal in the international interaction. For Africa, which is I'm going to focus on, we always have the idea of René Dumont when he published his book, his famous book, The False Start in Africa. And I think we had already two false starts. After independence, it was a great expectations that the euphoria of independence and full of expectations, everyone, but unfortunately it was misguided by the policy choices of the founding father. So the great expectation turned to be a great frustration. The second coming of Africa, and which was also a false start, was in the early 90s, when we said the second coming of Africa was the democratization and liberalization, etc., etc. But unfortunately, again, it was a second start. We have no luxury to repeat these false starts again. We have a real moment, the moment of the spirit of Bandung. Why we consider it is relevant today? Because it was, if you look at 1955, the half of the population of the world at that time, they came together and they had their own principles, how to interact equally with the protection of sovereignty among this divided world. And they produced the non-alignment movement. Today, after 70 years, we have the BRICS. We have another forums for the global South, regionally and internationally. So with the spirit of the Bandung, we can rise again. We can avoid the mistakes that we committed in the previous eras, especially after the World War II. So the central question always, it has to do with the South-South cooperation. and the vision of Bandung. Can we realize it today? I think this is a question. If we look at why it is relevant, because now, as we can see, there is an agreement among all those studying the international system that the moment of unipolarity is gone. We are heading toward a multipolar system. We are living in what we can call it the post-West hegemony. It is not anymore that you have even what we can call it the rules-based system. The rules-based system, nobody respects it, even those who design it. And we can see the contradictions in the behavior of the United States or the Western countries in dealing with very clear cases like the war in the Middle East or the war in Sudan or whatever examples that we can have. Nobody respects these rules anymore. How to prevent war and to make peace in the world order. So I think that is the time that we cannot ignore these shifts in the world balance. You cannot ignore that Asia is rising, which is almost 60% of the global economic growth, 36% of the global GDP is Asia alone. So Asia is rising. China, Brazil, even in Africa, South Africa. So you have other challengers to the US and to the hegemony of the Western power. So this is a moment of transformation in the international system. So the question now, what our founding father raised about how to empower Africa, how to empower Latin America, or the global South, that we should be united, that we need to maximize our interest, not to live in a binary world, even within the global South, great powers themselves. So we cannot affiliate ourselves only to China or to the United States, but we need to play the field. That is the rule of the game, and to maximize our opportunities. Again, I'm repeating what the call of René Dumont, the false start in Africa or even in the global South. We are not, in a situation that we repeat our mistakes again. Africa, Latin America, the global South, we are, players in the international system. We have to defend our interest, not to be, listen, always, if you imagine yourself, you are just sitting on the dining table where you have 4 or 5 who are deciding the type of food you eat, who are deciding the rules, how to eat and the instructions, and you are passive. You are almost 150 just sitting like watching without taking any decision. Then you decide, 4 or 5 of us decided to move to another table to decide our food and to decide our own rules. The first dining table, of course, is the IMF, is the International Bank, Monetary Bank, is the United Nations Security Council. And the other table, of course, it is our innovation. It is a new development bank. It is a BRICS. So this is a choice. This is an alternative that we are looking for. So I think if we take it like this, it will be a great opportunity and a great alternative. So the moment that the BRICS expanded to include more members, I think it provided a prism of hope for everybody in the global south that we have a voice to be heard, that we have alternatives to the financial system dominated by the Western institution, Bretton Woods institution. So that is the real opportunity that we have today. However, we have a greater debate, and this is what I'm going to focus on my talk. I know that the time is limited, but we have a great debate today because it is not easy to say we have an alternative. Yes, the real choices that we have institutional innovation. You have alternative to the Western financial system. So the political conditionality, imposed by these financial institutions. So we have the new bank, development bank, which is, giving us a kind of, alternative. You have another option to the IMF. We have the contingent reserve arrangement with almost $100 billion. That is good. Even with the difficulty of de-dollarization, we have other ways. We can use local currencies in trade and in investment. So there is no need to have this kind of dollarization in our trade and trade deals. So just a simple example, if I'm taking the case of Kenya and Egypt. So both of them, they have dollar deficit, but they have trades. So they can use, a barter system. So they use trades, commodities with each other without using the dollar. So there is always innovative ideas that we can, resort to in order to, avoid these hegemonic situations from the Western power. But as I said, this is one of the debates among the BRICS. It gives us a very rosy picture about the future of the global south. But however, there is another debate talking about that we are moving from one hegemony to another hegemony in the global south because you have a balance of power and you have internal rivalry inside the BRICS itself. What about the national interest of China? China has its own vision of the world order. Russia also has its own vision. India, which is more Western liberal democracy, of course, in contradiction with the macroeconomy of other countries. So I think this is one of the debates within the BRICS itself. How to deal with these contradictions within the BRICS itself. This is another dimension of the debate. If you come to the idea of the coherence, the Bandung, the spirit of Bandung was treating everybody equally. Because as I said in the very beginning, you are talking about sovereignty, equality, equal, just world order. But now, how to represent all these countries within the BRICS itself? Do we have criteria for the new membership? So the problem here is how to institutionalize the BRICS itself in order to have clear, criteria for the new membership, how to, for example, how to manage dispute among members. So one of the irony, you have the two member states representing Africa in the expansion last year, Egypt and Ethiopia. And Egypt and Ethiopia, they have their own dispute over the Renaissance Dam. This is a water dispute. But the BRICS is silent. They cannot provide any kind of facilitation in order to bring them to the negotiating table. So I think that is one of the most challenges that facing the BRICS, how to initiate an institutional reform. Even the BRICS itself, it doesn't have a secretary. So that it becomes like a forum. So a forum just to raise our voices in the international system. Again, the idea who benefits and who is left out. That is one of the imbalances. Look at the Middle East is good represented, but Africa is still not represented, fair enough, or Latin America. So I think that the representation and the geographic representation is an issue for the BRICS. However, with all these debates, and I think that the BRICS is a turning moment in the South-South cooperation. And there is a true opportunity to revive the spirit of Bandung again, not to take the way to the west or to the east, whether it is China is rising or the United States of America. With this world of Trumpism, that more realism is dominating, and every country, even the great power, maximizing their national interest. So we have to look at each case individually and to decide. I'm talking about the global south, and to decide which way we take it. This is a rational choice that we can do it. And I can see this if you look at the behavior of the global south voting in United Nations forum. They pursue this kind of pattern, how to look at their national interests. There is not necessary to follow the American or the Russian in their voting. So these are some indication about the rise of the global south, the revival of the Bandung. But what I want to focus here and to before I conclude is this multipolarity moment. So this is I'm not going to say a fact, but it is very clear for everyone. So multipolarity is very important to what we are talking about, because the rise of the global south or the BRICS need a multipolar world. But not only a multipolar world, it is a cooperative one. So we need cooperation. We need to find common issues in order to work, in order to facilitate this transition in the global system. So one of the ideas that we have shared concern globally. So if you look at the climate change, if you look at the rise of terrorism everywhere, there is a coalition against these terrorist organizations. So this is a kind of a global issue. So you need cooperation among all these countries. So you can find China, United States, Brazil, Africa, all of them, they come on the negotiating table and they discuss because this is a common concern. So, this the rise of BRICS, the rise of the global issues, I think is a clear idea of that we are heading at a multipolar system. Another issue that we can see it very clear is uh, no one can dominate all the fields. So you have the Chinese are very clever in doing infrastructure and also in the manufacture. And this is why they have this kind of attraction in Africa or in the Middle East or Latin America, because they build mega projects. You have the Indians are very successful in technology service, also in pharmaceutical field. So the Indian dominating in this field. When it comes to regional security, we cannot ignore regional powers like South Africa, India, Brazil, Malaysia, etc., etc. So that is some ideas I wanted to focus on regarding the lessons of Bandung, how to empower the global South, and how not to repeat the false start that reminded us by Renaud Dumont in the early 60s, and I think it is valid today. So I'm gonna stop here, and I think I hope to comply with the time limit. Thank you very much.